Fady Fareed, what's happening, my man?
Hey, Joe, thanks for having me on this call.
Yeah, absolutely. So Fady Fareed from Keller Williams in Northville, Novi,
Yes, sir.
and I know it's Fady Fareed for your real estate needs, but before we talk any real estate, how you got into the business, anything like that, it's brokers and brews, dude. What did you bring?
Okay, I, I can't tell you. I got to tell you a little story before because if I tell you right now what I brought, you're going to judge me and your audience going to do a backflip, okay? So
Okay.
before I drive everybody crazy, let me tell you why I chose the drink that I chose today, okay? Short story. About 6 years ago, I read the book called The Power of Habit. Have you read that book, Joe?
Listen to it.
You listened to it. Okay, it's a great book, phenomenal book. So I read the book, talks about the power of habit and how you can break a bad habit and start a good habit. So one of the exercises says, look at some of your bad habits and let's replace it with a good one. So I had a bad habit of drinking Coca-Cola after each meal I eat and any type of soda, pop for you, California people, right? So I said, I'm going to replace that with something good. So it talks about for any habit has a trigger and a trigger and then an action, and then you got to replace the bad action with a good action. So my trigger was every time I ate food. That was the trigger. The action was I drink Coca-Cola. So I replaced the Coca-Cola with sparkling water. So every time I eat, I drink sparkling water, and it's been 7 years. I had maybe Coca-Cola once, maybe. Okay, and so I replaced that. And then my another habit was drinking alcohol. So I said, that was a few years ago. When I say a few, maybe like 6 years ago, back when the Jersey Shore was around. I'm sure you remember that show, right? So I was doing a lot of drinking, okay? So I said, that's a bad habit. Let me replace it with a good one. So I start cutting down on alcohol. And every time I go to the bar, I was sick of these sugary drinks, Jaeger bombs. I'm sure you remember all these drinks. So I go to the bar and I say, give me sparkling water with vodka and a lemon. Okay, that was my drink. And one day I said, man, I wish somebody had it in a can bottle where we can take it and just drink it, so I don't have to mix this, because that was my drink, 0 calories, zero sugar. I start telling my friend, I say, hey, somebody needs to make up that drink and start selling it. And everybody shut me down. Bad idea. So I did what I do best. So I closed my eyes and I said, let me visualize how I can make that drink and pitch it maybe to the Shark Tank or something. Now, see what happened. So I closed my eyes, Joe, and I imagined going to the Shark Tank. You watch the Shark Tank, right?
Yeah.
So here I am walking in a Shark Tank with my new bubbly drink with vodka in it and lemon and sparkling water, 0 calories. And I close my eyes and here I am pitching it. I can see Mark Cuban and Mr. Wonderful sitting there, and I just finished my pitch. And all I can hear them saying, Joe, nothing special about your drink. I can hear like Mark Cuban saying that. Nothing special about it. It's vodka and sparkling water. And I can hear Mr. Wonderful saying, what's stopping me from making that drink? And then I opened my eyes. I said, you know what? It's a stupid idea. Forget about it. Now, fast forward a few years later, I go to the beach and what everybody's drinking. White Claw. This is $1 billion company here. This stuff. That was my idea, Joe. And so now I start drinking this stuff to remind myself, well, don't listen to what others tell you. Number two, idea is not worth anything, right? So this is my reminder, and that's why I'm drinking White Claw. And I know a lot of people are going to say, this is not a brew. It's sparkling water and vodka. I know, but that was my invention. This is my reminder.
That's
That
okay. Brews
don't
count
work.
for just about anything.
Yeah.
Preferably alcoholic, but I understand not everyone drinks alcohol. So I don't have as long of a story.
What are you
But
drinking?
I've been doing keto for over a month now, and it's going well. So I have to keep my stuff to low carb. And my neighbor found this
Oh, Blue Moon.
Blue Moon Light Sky citrus wheat, has a little tangerine flavor, 3.6 grams of carbs, 95 calories.
Wow.
Pretty good. I like your story on White Claw, so I won't judge you. And so, cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers, brother.
Interestingly, Though you're right, like White Claw's making a ton of money, and they were kind of the first in the game. But there are a lot of competitors. So I think what Mr. Wonderful would say, and Damon would immediately be out, right? He'd be like, "I'm out, I'm out. It can't be proprietary," you know. Uh,
Yeah,
but they would say that, but they were right. I mean, there's White Claw and Truly seem to be the two big ones, but now you have Bud Light Seltzer. I saw Natural Light has one. Lion and Kugels has one.
yeah,
There's so many, but those companies were already in the game. Whereas White Claw, to the best of my knowledge, and I'm not a beverage expert, but to the best of my knowledge, they came out of nowhere.
yeah,
Maybe somebody's bought them by now, who knows? But they're not. They were kind of like their own thing. So you were onto something for sure, and I hate when that happens when you're onto something and then you see it, and good for the person that did it, right?
yeah, yeah. It's every time I see it, man, I get it's a reminder.
Yeah. Now I've come to like a few of those, but I still am not a fan of the claw. Um, my neighbors, like all the wives, they got these newer, like truly like lemonade flavored whatever. So it's
Right.
like black cherry lemonade, mango lemonade. I like those. Those are pretty good. And
Yeah.
interestingly enough, recently, um, somebody really hooked me up on a real estate deal. I needed a driveway repaired. And
Okay.
just so happened that a neighbor who's in kind of the construction world, he's more on the underground side of things, working with, sewer or something like that underground. But he's a big dude, and he put me in touch with the right contacts, and we got it all done. So he's really good friends with another neighbor. I said, "Hey, what does he like to drink? I want to just get him a little something because we're friendly, but I'm not going to say the two of us are close friends. We're never texting each other saying what are you doing tonight. So I want to do a
Uh,
little something for him." She says Bud Light Seltzer. And I just wrote back, "Are you effing with me right now?" And she says, "No, he likes it." And I said, "Okay." So when I brought it over, he goes, "Yeah, she's messing with you a little bit." He goes, "I do like them. But I guarantee she got a little laugh out of knowing you went to go buy them to give to me." So,
uh,
but they're pretty good too. I had some of those at 4th of July. So, they've come around. A lot of these are pretty good stuff. So,
right.
anyhow, so Fadi, we're in the same market, but that's okay because we have different experiences and things like that. And honestly, you kind of already started with like some of the books that you read, the conferences you go to, and so you and I met each other obviously at Keller Williams. You were already there. I came over from another brokerage, and eventually we shared an office. Eventually we went to a conference together, and that was awesome because you're just a great positive person to be around. And I know that you weren't born in the U.S. Um, I can't imagine if I'm not born here, coming here, like what I might buy into or not buy into, because I know what I've been suckered into as a natural born U.S. citizen. So, what kind of got you into mindset and motivation and affirmation and those types of things? Because I mean, it's a struggle for a lot of people, but you are 100% on board.
Right. I think I am very lucky that I got to experience a third world country. And then so when I moved here to more advanced country, I got to appreciate it because I knew what the other side looks like. Right. I always tell the kids that are born here, and I have a lot of cousins that are born here. I just tell them, you guys don't know how good you have it here because they're never seen what it looks like on the other side. They don't know what it looks like not having simple things as like electricity for 24 hours, right? I mean, I remember back home we used to have electricity maybe like 5 hours, and it will go off on 4 or 5 hours, and it comes back on, and it just was a struggle. But here, if the power goes off for a couple of days, like it did a few years ago, people will go crazy. They don't even know how to. I don't know. They can't. They just everything stops, like the world stops. But the drive came in, Joe, is when I actually moved here. So I was 13 years old, 13 turning 14, I moved during the yeah, it was 2003, 2004. I moved here with the pursuit of the American dream because everybody was sold on the American dream. I moved from Iraq because I was born and raised in Baghdad. So so we moved here, and as a 13 years old, I had my own American dream, which it probably has changed then. But I had three goals, Joe. I wanted three things. That was my American dream. Okay, I wanted a red two-seater Corvette. Okay, that was my American dream. I wanted a beachfront property, and I wanted two blondes sits on the passenger side of my red Corvette. Okay, I was 13 years old. How are you gonna fit two blondes? I don't know, but that was my American dream. Obviously, I've grown now, and I do not share the same dream. But I was just sold the idea that everything's possible here. Just got to put in the work, and whatever you want to do, it's possible. So yeah, so I moved and I started working, and I was actually given two choices, and I went and asked around the people that have been here longer than I have, and I said, "Hey, what does it take to be a successful person in the USA?" And they basically gave me two routes. Number one, you work in a family-owned businesses, which is liquor stores, and you work, 20, 30 years. You work open close, meaning from 7 a.m. to midnight, and then one day you own that liquor store, and then you retired, and then you live the American dream. Or you go to school and you become a teacher, lawyer, a doctor, and then you start making big money, and then once you retire, you get pension and benefits. Then you be a good successful person. So I thought to myself, a teacher, a lawyer, geez, I only know how to speak like maybe three words, and two of them were cuss words. Okay, so I don't know, like I can't do that. So I took the liquor store route for a little bit, and I worked since I was 13, and it just didn't feel right. So I decided to go. I always had the heart to help people in need, and I always had a special place for the sick ones. So I decided to go to Oakland University, and I pursued going to nursing. So I always liked nursing because it's the only profession I find has like bedside one-on-one
Hmm.
patient care. So, yeah, so I went to Oakland University, got my nursing degree, and I started working in the nursing field. Very rewarding. I loved it, and then I realized after like punching in and punching out, and I just thought, oh my God, this is not, it still doesn't feel like the American dream that I once wanted. Obviously, I'm older now and wiser. And I don't share the same American dream, but I just had bigger expectations. Like I always felt like I have more in me and I can help more people. I felt like in the nursing field, I was limited to the amount of people I can help. I was assigned maybe between 10 to 14 patients. And I made a point to make an impact on every single one of them, but I want to take it to I wanted to do it on a bigger scale. So I start reading more books and educating myself. I knew to make a big impact on the world is to get financially free and be financially secure. Now, don't get me wrong, you can make a big impact. You don't need money to do that. You can do it by trading time. But I wanted to make a bigger impact where just money wouldn't be a thing. If there's a family that I want to help, I can help them. So I read a few books, including Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I'm sure you have read as well, and got me thinking about real estate. And so I went and got my license, started working in real estate. I started doing so good in real estate that I eventually had to quit nursing and go full time in real estate, which the had generated enough income, which allowed me to get the freedom to travel now. And this year, actually, I had the opportunity to go to Costa Rica, and I was involved in a project with a special care needs patient, and I stayed in Costa Rica for 7 days, and I worked with them. I helped them out, and that's just one example of before that option was not available for me because a trip to Costa Rica, 7 days, it gets get a little bit costly, right? So uh, because I'm doing so well in real estate, I have generated enough income. It allows me to go volunteer. I'm paying to do what I love to do. Okay, I don't have to punch in or punch out. I met incredible people down there, another volunteers, and we helped a lot of people. We helped a lot of poor people. We donated with money, with our time, with a lot of our ideas and thinking. We reinvented a lot of things for them, and so that's the route I want to take. That's what fuels me. That what keeps me going. I know the more houses that I sell, the more money I make, the more I can give back. So that's what drives me. That's how I get my motivation.
So now, you've said it a couple times. You're older, you're wiser, and we're always growing, right? So if we talked again, even in 6 months, let alone 6 years, we continue to be older and wiser. But how's that dream changed? Like, do you have kind of a certain goal right now, maybe for yourself, that allows you to do a bigger goal, kind of like you were talking about?
Right. So I have, as a person, I have changed, and luckily, in the past 3 years, I adopted journaling. So I was journaling for the past 3 years, and just for the past 3 years, I've seen how much I've grown just looking at my journal. And what shifted for me, I went from like from being collecting more material stuff. So I was more, I want the cars, I want the watches, I want the houses. Now I'm more into like experience. I felt I felt like it's more fulfilling to go after the experience. I felt it's more rewarding if I can help somebody in need. If that's a sick person, or maybe in the real estate world, if I help like another real estate agent get them jump started. I felt it more fulfilling for me. Is the more I do for people, it's more fulfillment for me. So now I'm setting up more goals in how much money to make in real estate, right? And then I can take that money and reinvest it back and give it back to other people. So that's been the main motive for me.
And I think that that's something that a lot of people. I had somebody during a transaction. His son was graduating high school, and he said, he doesn't really feel like college is his thing. And we talked to him about obviously our purchase here, and he's thinking real estate. What do you have to say? And I said, well, I have to say it's great, right? I love it. I said some stuff. I go, but I would ask him, why does he want to go to real estate?
Right.
um, because and I said, personally, I would ask that question before you decide to do anything. But clearly, you can make a lot of money in this industry. You also can go broke, which is why it's such a huge failure rate, even bigger than the average business and startup, entrepreneur. But more importantly, I said, if it's about the money, well, we know it's not really about the money. What does the money do? Because if
Right.
it's about the money, maybe he wants to make $100,000. Well, then what's he going to do when he makes $100,000? Because eventually there's something else that comes with the money. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with the watches and the cars and the houses and whatever. I'm guessing you'd still like a beachfront home if possible. But the money allows that freedom and flexibility to do other things, invest in something that's going to help you achieve a bigger goal, which is a lot more about humanitarian things. Um, for me, I've been a little bit involved in kind of like a school related program called Fate. And while as much as I enjoy that program, as I look at what could be in the horizon for schools with budget cuts and things like that, I've already started thinking, I wonder if I want to do a little bit different path that's still involved with schools, but somehow helping with more fundraising, donating, materials or whatever, so that our schools don't go without. Because it sounds like they're going to start cutting back, and I know what that's going to mean. It's going to mean less books, less tablets, less monitors, less all that stuff, because they're not going to have the money. So you know, the money's great, and it allows you to have a certain quality of life that then allows you to give back. And a lot of people might not realize that, especially when they see somebody like, and I don't know that he's a good or a bad guy, but you look at like Jeff Bezos, the current richest man in the world, you know, and regardless of how he got there and how good or bad of a human being he is, he does, do giving back. Now, we can all debate why he does it and his motivations, but um, you see that a lot. You see that with people
Right.
who have done well. They're normally giving back in some manner because they understand that it's a need. It's a necessity. You know, so and especially for someone who doesn't know any different or any better, so to speak. It's like to be able to show your hard work that you put in and how it got you here, so that if someone's thinking about a different path, maybe they can see, I guess if I put my head down to it, I can get back after it, you know?
Right, absolutely. And I think a lot of people get caught up, at least I used to get caught up, every time we go to workshop or seminar, we start setting these goals and, we always set our goals high. But I think what a lot of people are missing is the why behind those goals. I always just said, I just want to make certain amount of money because it just sounds cool, looks good. Again, I want to get the clothes, the watches, the cars, the houses. Uh, but then what happens once you acquire those things, you start thinking to yourself, "Oh man, is this really it? I mean, is there? I mean, the car gets old. The watch is just a watch. Yeah, a house. I mean, you get used to it. I mean, they're nice. Money gives you access to things, but then once you do something more of an experience, then you start thinking of, you start looking back at it, and there's more like fulfillment to it. I helped when I was down in Costa Rica. I was involved with this project with those special needs, and when we were done, uh, the lady helped me. Said, "Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you." She kept thanking me, and I just said, "No, thank you." In an odd way, I said, "I did this selfishly. I did it to help you, but in the same way, it makes me feel better." So I am a little bit, I mean, yeah, I am doing this for you, but in the same time, I feel better about myself. It's just that experience. I just go home and feel fulfilled. That's the feeling I missed from working in the nursing space, is just when you have a good interaction with a patient and the patient like maybe grab you by the wrist and says, "Thank you."
Hmm.
Thank you. Like you weren't. I wasn't just a patient in the room 205B. I was a human being, and he treated me like a human being. That's what I miss the most. And now, I'm in a position where I can go to like place like Costa Rica and help people that they're poor, they have not the best health system, and able to help those people back. In the end of the day, I'm doing it for them, but in return, I feel great. I feel fantastic. I feel like on top of the world because it's more fulfilling for me than buying that watch, buying that car, buying that house. It's just this simple act that makes me more fulfilled.
Yeah, for sure. You look back, it doesn't matter uh, what watch you have. It's a watch, and it tells time. Um, there's a lot of craftsmanship and a lot of things, and maybe it's unique or maybe it's not. But at the end of the day, it's a watch. But when you're helping humans, and it's just a different feeling for sure, and it's much more satisfaction. And that doesn't mean that because somebody has a nice watch that they've done anything wrong. Um, I have, a couple of watches. They're not crazy expensive, but they're more than off the Target shelf, or Kohl's. But and there's a few that I want, but they're you just have to tier your goals and figure out different things. But I can tell you that I've never put on my watch and said, "Man, that was really awesome. That was cool, man. I really, like never, ever, zero times." But sometimes even the simplest thing of, helping somebody with a little math problem, you have some fulfillment. So definitely different things. And that's something that real estate and any real entrepreneurial, path can lead you to, because you're able to make your own schedule, which is certainly sometimes misused or overplayed. You are making your own schedule. Instead of someone else telling you what 50 to 70 hours a week you should do, you tell yourself what 50 to 70 hours a week you should do. Um, but you can put those things in there, right? You could say, okay,
Right,
on Tuesdays I have an appointment at 5 p.m. to do this particular thing, to go to this particular place and help these particular people, or whatever it is. So that's kind of an advantage. And then if you do well and you sell either enough high end or enough units in real estate, and typically you make somewhere around 3% of the sale, then even after costs and broker fees and taxes and stuff, you definitely can have a nice living and allow you to do some of those things that maybe you wouldn't have been able to do, even though you make a nice good income with nursing, right? But
right,
it's capped. And I think that's the biggest thing is a job, so to speak, or even a career oftentimes is capped at a certain level. And one of the beautiful things about what we do is the only cap is really yourself. Um, what you either limit yourself to, or maybe what you want to do, right? Like I have no interest in doing 150 transactions a year. It's not in, I have zero want for that. But we can set goals and get there and make it so we can make more money and or free up more time or whatever. We have that flexibility. So it's a beautiful thing.
Right. I totally agree. I think also one thing, other thing that I am very lucky with, I got really lucky with, is when I start working in the nursing field, I got the opportunity to work with. I was a float nurse, so every time, and you know these terms because I know your wife is a
Yep.
nurse as well. So I was a float nurse, meaning every time I show up, they assign me to a different unit, so I didn't have my own unit. So one day I work with cardiac, psych patients, and sometimes I work with hospice patient, which are the patients that are usually given like certain time for them to live, like maybe a couple of months, a month, couple of weeks. They're at their maybe they have kidney failures, they have a end stage cancer or something like that. So what I learned working with these patients that have maybe a month to go or a couple of weeks to go, the only thing they talk about, Joe, is the good experience and memories. Like I never had a patient on their deathbed or a month before their date talk about the watch they bought or about the car they bought. It's like just always talk about how they went and climbed Kilimanjaro, a
Hmm.
mountain, and how they did camping on Lake Michigan, and they just talk about these experiences they had, and that's so I was very lucky to see what it looks like at the end. So on the end, really, what matters is not that crappy phone calls that we get or somebody cut you off on a highway or any of these little things that we get upset about. In the end, we're not going to remember that. We're going to remember the good, sweet memories. So I said, interesting. Moving forward, all I'm going to create is these beautiful, loving memories that when my time comes, at least I want to die fulfilled.
Well, and that's a good point because you even see that like in some bad scenarios. Maybe someone that was born with an absentee parent, and when the parent finally came around, they were abusive and all this stuff. But they have all those memories, but somewhere in there, somebody always has one good memory. It seems like it's like, man, my dad was a real son of a bitch, and he did this and he did that, and he was terrible. But he came to my football game, and I remember just seeing my dad and thinking if I could just make him proud, and it's like there those, this is not my story, but you hear those types of things. There's
Right.
millions of books and movies all written and shown about them, right? And so you're right. It's like even in bad scenarios, there's always some positive memory that somebody keeps, and so maybe that's a natural transition here. Um, I think that's been, for lack of better terminology, a positive thing that's kind of come from this coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic that we've had. You've hunkered down at home more than you normally do. Some people, excuse me, clearly are going nowhere. Other people are out and about, but you still are around doing more than normal. And I can say for myself, I mean, my kids are doing things that they normally wouldn't do. They're making, my one kid's making a snake trap right now. He's trying to catch garter snakes. Now, that's something that maybe boys do, but today's boys really, they jump on Fortnite and they jump on iPads and Galaxy tablets and stuff. But and he's doing those things, but he's doing some of this other stuff. And then we're doing family walks or we're doing fishing adventures or kayaking and things that if we would have been doing a bunch of sports, or if you would have been doing other things that you normally do, camps and things like that, probably wouldn't have had time to do some of those things. So there's been some positive things to kind of come out of it. You know, I there's been some good stuff. I guess it's really, I'll leave it at that. There's a lot of bad things, right? But there's been some positive things that have happened for sure. Um, and while you're welcome to obviously expound on that, how has that all affected your real estate business? What happened in March? What happened in now July. How's things going? What do you see? That type of stuff when it comes to real estate.
Yeah, so originally when this thing happened, I originally I just went in denial, right? So I was like, it can't be. I thought it was kind of blown out of proportions. Then we start seeing the cases, and then you start hearing about people getting infected about it. And obviously, we were mandated to stop doing business as a real estate agent. You can't do open houses, you can't show houses. You just kind of shut us down for, I believe it was a month or so.
Hmm.
That was an eye opening for me. I agree, because I never ever in my life took a month off work. Now, even though we were off, I was still, that gave me a chance to kind of like sit back, look at my business, start reevaluating things. I start cutting some expenses that I, I wasn't uh, it wasn't necessary. Let's
Hmm.
say I start looking on more value avenues. Like I start looking at how is my business been generated. It's mostly been referrals, sphere of influence referrals. So I started looking at that. I started developing more systems, and then really what I wanted to do, and not from a business standpoint, just from, I guess, from the person that I am, I just start reaching out to people, just saying like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I just wanted to see how everybody else was doing, because I know, like for me, I was okay. I was doing fine. I was just I was just doing my workouts. I was just staying positive, staying out of the news. I know I was doing perfectly fine. But then when I start reaching out to people, people start getting anxiety, people start getting stressed. And that naturally, just reaching out to people, what happened is the moment the market opened back again, the people felt that connection, and I start getting more business now. So I would call it before COVID. Let's call it before COVID, before the shutdown. I was doing great. Then COVID hit, and then just business died. And now let's call it post COVID. I mean, geez, I'm slammed right now. I got so many, like I'm working with so many clients, and just business skyrocketing. The market is hot. Everybody's taking advantage of the interest rates and things like that. People are buying, people are selling. So for me, I found a great opportunity. Now it could be the fact that when this happened, I looked at it, and I thought to myself, it's got to be an opportunity, because I know there is like every time there is a disaster, let's call it, every time there is something like that, there's an opportunity also, right? So I start looking at ways, how can I find an opportunity in this hard times? So I actually, my business grew. I jumped on the stock market, which is something I haven't really done. I did great in the stock market. I took advantage of that. I start working out like crazy, and I got in pretty good shape. And now I'm kind of off the wagon, but it just worked out perfectly fine. Business is great. I made great money off the stock market. I actually, I'm in the process of buying an investment property right now. I find a great deal, and I couldn't pass on it. So I'm in the process of buying a property myself. So it's just this year, I can truly say 2020 been great for me. It's been a
Hmm.
great year. I think benefited health wise, money wise. It gave me a lot of freedom, because now we're doing a lot of Zoom calls. Now, before we used to go meet with a client 101, and used to have to drive from place to place. So now we're doing all these Zoom calls. So freed me a lot. So 2020 so far, it's been my year, and I really hope it continue. I hope this COVID stuff dies out. Obviously, I know a lot of people not didn't get benefit, but I believe a lot of people should just set the intention, like shut down this media. I know this negative stuff that you hear online. Don't let them scare you. Focus on your goals and dreams, and you'll be all right. I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I know it's a controversial topic for one reason or another, but that's something I see a lot of people say about the wearing of masks, and it appears as though schools will open with some sort of mask mandate, and rather than focusing on all the negative of the mask, if you focus a little bit on some positive of the mask, then it will help your kids when they go to school. Our kids, we've trained our kids to be more free thinking than ever before. I think it seems, anyways, and therefore they challenge adults and teachers more than ever before. It seems, and so if there's a policy, um, whether you agree with it or you disagree with it, if you're training your kids to fight with their teachers, it might not be great. So if you're anti-mask, there's probably other ways to go about it besides just being completely negative. Is probably the best way to
Right.
say it. And it's that, and we'll elaborate that out at anything. If you're
Right.
against something, just being completely negative is not helpful, right? If all I do
Yep.
is argue and be negative, I'm not really solving anything or getting anywhere. The only place that we're getting is you and I don't talk anymore, or
Right.
I don't believe in such and such anymore, something like that. Whereas if
Mhm.
you would say, no, this is not right, this is why it's not right, and we could talk about those things, sometimes you can find resolution. Uh, there's things obviously we can't resolve. Okay, I can't resolve speed limits on 96. I don't get to talk to the police officer and tell them that I thought I should be allowed to go 85, right? But I think you see what I'm saying. I mean, there's
Right.
you know negatives and stuff like that that we focus on rather than focusing on the positives and rather than focusing on the things that we can do and the things that we can change. And I know we've already kind of hit on this. A lot of times what you put out there in the world, it comes to you in some manner. um, I don't know if you say every day that you're going to get a Lamborghini, that you're going to get a Lamborghini, but what if you got a Corvette? Would you say that it was a failure? Right? I never had a Corvette, and I never thought I would get one. I know I wanted a Lamborghini, but I got a Corvette, right? Like, that's not a negative, that's a positive. And I think
Right.
that's all about the way that you look at it and the spin that you put on it. And just because you get the Corvette doesn't mean you can stop putting out there that you want the Lamborghini. You still want the
Sure.
Lamborghini.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't come, but something positive came. So if you put something positive out there, something positive comes. Might not be exactly what you're looking for, but it's certainly going to be better than it was.
I agree. I also think it's all in your head. It's all how the way you look at things, right? So I think the moment, like you were saying, is like for the mask, you can go against it. You have opinion. Everybody has opinion about something, right? But the moment you start going negative about it, then that's when you start butting heads with everybody, start making enemies, not friends. But the moment you switch your mindset and you go from that victim mentality to, oh, everything's happened to me, to everything's happening for me, and there's a reason behind this. And instead of failing, you start succeeding. It's a very simple formula. You go from a victim to a victor. Just think about things. If something bad happened to you, like today, a bird took a crap on my car, bothered me because I was gonna go on an appointment and I just got a car wash, and I just looked at it. I was like, huh, maybe it happened for a reason. I don't know what it happened for, but I just believe things happen for me. I always adapted that mindset. Whatever is happening, it's for me. It's never against me. Nobody's out there trying to get me, and I think that's what allows me just to be in a better state of mind every day, all day, and that's what made me create my kind of my brand. I don't know if you can see this, but can you read this, Joe?
Yeah, make it a great day.
Make it a great day. People always we're kind of program when you meet someone and they say, how are you doing? Good. How are you? And have a nice day. Have a nice day. We're so programmed to say this subconsciously that, that I like the fact of saying make it a great day. Seriously, it's up to you. You make it a great day. You're having a shitty day, that's fine, but you can make it a great day. It's up to you. It's not what happens to you in life that matters, it's how you react to things. So it's really, if you hate the mask, we're talking about mask, if you hate it or you don't hate it, it's up to you. That's not going to ruin my day, right? Maybe 20 years ago or maybe 10 years ago, if somebody would have cut me off driving on the highway, would piss me off for a week, I'll talk about it for a week. But now it's just I don't even know what I like. Somebody cut me off, flip me off. It really doesn't bother me. It takes a lot to get me pissed off and put me in a bad state because I always choose to make it a great day. It's up to me. I'm in control.
Yeah, no, you're right. And you don't, it's not that you don't get upset about things, it's that you don't focus on them.
Sure.
Great example. Uh, right after we start getting back to real estate, I have a client who was going to wait till school ended to list their home and buy a condo, but school really it was virtual, so it kind of did end. So she said she was ready to go, and she was seeing condos come on the market, so she felt like, I don't want to let these go. So we went out, we saw a couple, we put an offer in. We were a couple $1,000s away, couldn't agree on things. So we go see another one. I talked to the guy Saturday morning, and you and I both know a big rule in real estate is you don't tell your clients something is done until their signatures. This
Right.
is both when you're signing an agreement, even if you're nullifying a deal, anything. It's not happening. You don't own the house till you've signed at closing. You're not accepted until you've signed the agreement, whatever. You never celebrate till it's signed. Well, anyhow, we went out, we saw this place first thing in the morning, like 9 a.m. And so I call the agent, I give him an idea of what we're looking at. He says, I think I could probably make that work. Great. I'll go home and write it up, send it to him. He calls me and says, my client's so excited, it's their birthday, and they got this deal and they're gonna take it. I said, okay, sounds good. And so I'm feeling good, but I'm leaving it to myself. I got more showings to do. And then he calls me and says, "Hey, I'm heading out on the boat, but I sent it to the client. They're gonna get it back to me as soon as I get off the boat. I'll send it to you." I said, "Man, that's awesome." And obviously there was a little bit more conversation than this. I'm trying to sum it up a little bit. And at this point, I'm dumb enough to call my client and say they're going to take our offer. I'm now at an
Uh-oh.
inspection at like 6:30 in the evening. I get a phone call from this agent. He says, "Hey, I'm sending you the offer right now. You guys didn't put an initial on the lead-based paint disclosure. I need you to put that on, but I'm looking forward to working with you." Fantastic. 11:42 p.m. This is a Saturday, Memorial Day weekend. Saturday, Memorial Day weekend. I'm sitting out by the fire uh, with my wife and two neighbors, and he texts me and says, "My clients are going with another offer. Sorry, I really was looking forward to working with you." And
Ouch.
I know I said we could swear, and I won't probably put all the swear words out there, but I
Oh man.
basically texted him back and said, "Are you kidding me?" And he said, "No, um, they didn't like that your offer was contingent on the sale of her home and whatever." And I said, "Okay, great. We could remove that contingency. It was in there as a failsafe, but she's pre-approved without it." So I remember texting back, and I normally would not do this, but I was obviously irate. I said, "So fuck that offer, and tell those people that you already have an offer that you've accepted." Well, anyhow, next morning I call and he doesn't answer. So I say, "Hey man, doesn't sound like we have a deal anymore. I'd love to know what happened. The reason I'm working with this client, because I was out of my normal area, I said, the reason I'm working with this client is because a previous client moved out there, referred me to her, and here I am. You and I might cross paths again. I would love to know what happened here so that I feel confident if we ever have to co op again." That was back in May, and it's July 8th, and I have not heard from him yet. So clearly, a little gutless as far as I'm concerned. But I felt horrible at 8 a.m. I didn't sleep that good. The one thing that happened positively since I wasn't sleeping was I started searching and I found the condo that she's closing on next Wednesday. Um, but and it's the exact same builder. It's a year newer, and it's actually $20,000 less. Um,
Wow.
so it worked out, and this is back to the point of focusing on the right things. But I remember I was talking to somebody, and they said, "Well, they're another agent." They said, "Well, you can't beat yourself up." I said, "I'm not beating myself up." I said, "I'm down right now. Give me an hour, I'll be back with it." I said, "But I'm really upset about this. I feel bad for my client. I feel bad I have to call her and tell her, because she was like ready to cry when she found out she was getting this place. Now she's going to be ready to cry to find out she's not getting it. It all worked out, and it all worked out for the better. But it sucked, and but I didn't focus on that. I focused on finding her a new place, and she did the same thing. She had the same outlook. She said things happen for reasons that I'm unable to control, and whatever's meant to be is going to happen. And like I say, now she's getting actually brand new construction for
Wow.
$20,000 less than this existing construction was. So same builder, same complex. So it actually worked out really well. But you can't just sit and mull on the bad things, the negatives, all that stuff. You just, it sucked. It was down. I was like, son of a bitch. But an hour later, showing more homes, smile on my face. Let's do this thing. So that's the way it
And
goes.
that's the right attitude. And
Yeah,
almost always, anytime I something like that happen, like every time I always tell my clients, especially my buyers, especially in this market right now, it's crazy market. I'm sure you've seen it. Multiple offer situations, so many buyers, not enough houses in a lot of markets. I know some of them are haven't seen that much they have more inventory than the others. But I always tell my clients, especially the buyers, let's make an offer. Let's do our best. That an event that we don't get it, that at least we know we did our best, right? Now, when something goes south because the agent on the other side, trying to cut you out and just lead you on the wrong path, saying, yeah, we're gonna accept your offer, then turn around and get somebody else's offer, something like that, or maybe take an in-house offer. Every time we had something that was out of our control, we go out and find even a better deal, right? Something better, has more value, it was cheaper in price, was nicer, better location. Every single time, every single time, it just works out for the best. And I believe, just like you said, a lot of it is because we focus on the good. We look at it and say, hey, it happened for a good reason. Let's go and find you something better, and we
yeah,
always do.
exactly. And when you're the client and you're out there shopping, it's heartbreaking and gut wrenching and stuff like that at times, especially because you really feel like you love this one. But at the end of the day, you're gonna find another one that you are really gonna love, and like you said, maybe something better. I could really probably go on with a ton of examples of that scenario panning out where we didn't get an offer accepted, or we did the inspection and the deal fell apart, or just various things. But when you look at where they're at now, you're like, man, aren't you glad that that one didn't happen? And they always say it. Sometimes they'll even call me and say, hey, Joe, I just want to say again, thanks for this house. I'm so glad we didn't buy that first one. It's really funny, because of course my job is to get you the house, and I always feel like, damn, did I do something wrong that we didn't get this one? So it's kind of funny.
It,
Uh,
it, it happened to me actually, Joe, earlier this year. Uh, I found a house in Novi. I love Novi. I live in Novi. It's my area, and I got very emotionally attached. Personally, I got attached to the deal. I was an investment property, and I just I stopped looking at the numbers. All I can see is the location. It's Novi. I'm loving it, and I got my inspector out there. I'm looking at the property, and every single sign is telling me it's a bad investment. It's a bad investment. And then what happened is the listing agent and I couldn't get on agreement on $5,000. $5,000. We couldn't put this deal together, and just that was the little push that I needed to walk away from the deal. So I walk away from the deal for $5,000 because I just felt I thought it was fair. When I believe something is fair, I wasn't asking. It was $5,000. The house had a little mold and a lot of issues, so I walk away with it from the deal, and then just maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, I realized if I would gotten myself in that deal, that probably would be the worst nightmare for me. It worked out perfectly fine. I went find a different property, a better price, was remodeled, ready to go. And my God, I was so caught up. I was heartbroken after I lost the deal in Novi, and just it worked out perfectly fine for me. Now I'm like, man, every time I pass by that, I was like, oof, I'm glad I didn't get that nightmare over there.
yeah, it's funny. I'm friends with people that there were two houses on the market in my subdivision when we bought our house, and we really liked the other house too. And so I'm friends with those people, and they're having a weird issue in their backyard. And so, just jokingly, I was able to say to him, "Well, thank God I didn't buy that one." So a little bit different, obviously, and everything's going to work out. But yeah, it is funny how things go sometimes.
Yes.
In the world, not just real estate. So, get your crystal ball out, get your magic 8 ball, your magician's hat, whatever it is that you do, and magic trolls. And what do you see on the horizon in Michigan? Southeast Michigan, Metro Detroit, Michigan, when it comes to the real estate world for maybe the rest of this year and going into the first quarter of next year. Do you think we're going to keep up with the market that we're in right now?
I think this is what's going to happen. I think right now we're going to ride the wave. Everything's great. We're moving quick, fast. I think we're going to see a little bit of slowdown in the first quarter of next year, starting December, January, February, March. I think we're gonna. I think things gonna slow down. I think we'll see more inventory on the market, less buyers on the market, and it's obviously it's uncharted territory. Nothing like this has happened in the past. Maybe similar, but this is a very unique time we're living in. So I believe that I think we're going to continue this wave. The sales is going to happen. The market's going to continue the way it is right now, and I think the first quarter of next year, I think that's when we're going to start seeing a little slowdown, a little shift, and it's going to be interesting time to see what happened. I mean, geez, who knows what's going to happen? That's a question a lot of my clients ask. "Well, what do you think? Should I buy? Should I sell? Should I wait? Are they really houses are 70 cents on the dollar right now?" The answer is not. No, it's not. They're not 70 cents on a dollar right now. Okay, I don't know where you got that from. I think what and then it's gonna go back to the client's motivation. Why are you thinking of buying? Why are you thinking about selling? Oh, I want to test the market. Well, you know what? This is not the best time to test the market right now. If you're not seriously about buying and selling, this is not the time to play. Okay, let the motivated buyers buy, the motivated sellers sell, and then if you want to test the market, I don't know, to figure a time to do that. But I think nobody knows what's going to happen really. But this is my prediction. I think we're going to continue seeing that wave of. We're going to continue being busy. Market is moving right now. Earlier next year, we're going to see a little shift, a little change. But who knows what's going to happen? It's very interesting. I'm excited. Either or, I think it's going to be a lot of opportunities.
Sure. Well, I mean, almost 2 years ago, we started talking about there's a shift going on in the real estate world. I don't know if you're seeing it out there. Interest rates are a little over 4%. They're going to get to 5%. Um, Buyer hesitation. The inventory is sitting longer. Now, keep in mind, many of these scenarios, when we said the inventory is sitting longer, we were coming from 2 weeks' time to a month's time,
Right,
and typically, we're talking normally it's at least a 4 to 6 month time for inventory. That's a normalized, kind of a market where it takes 4, 5, 6 months to sell a home. And so we were saying it's taking longer, but I mean, that was very relative. And, yeah, that happened. And I always remember doing like a video for an interest rate and market update from the mortgage world with one of my lenders, and she goes, rates aren't going down. And I think they've gone down ever since she said that. But that was not the indication. It
right,
looked like we were going to get to about 5.25% on 30-year fixed. And instead of going there, we dropped back. We were back below four, back into fours, now below four. So I think though that if you are thinking about buying and selling, you can't time the market. It's
right,
impossible.
right,
Nobody knows. Warren Buffett doesn't know the best time to buy and sell stocks. You know,
right,
Barbara Corcoran or any of these other people don't know the best day to buy or sell a house. What we know
right,
is it's a good time right now. Um, if you're selling, there's a great chance that you're going to sell relatively quickly. There's a great chance that you're going to get the price that your house is worth or more. There's a lot of factors that go into those things, but for the most part, that's what we're seeing. And if you thought about moving for one reason or another, now's the time because we don't know what the future is going to hold. And while it's certainly possible that in 2021 there's more inventory for less money, interest rates might be higher. So it might not be less money. You know,
right,
Interest rates can only go so low. That's why the Fed's pumping all the money in that they're doing, because they're not going to just do 0% loans on purchases and refinances.
Right.
So holding out, it makes some sense if you're not ready. But if you're ready, holding out, waiting for the better deal really just doesn't make sense because it could change in a heartbeat, and if it becomes even more competitive, waiting is not the answer. Not if you're trying to buy.
I agree. I agree. I think I have a client that, man, I think he's probably been saying that he's going to wait for the right opportunity for 5 years now, and he hasn't made a move. Okay, where I have a client that sold bot, made tons of money doing that, and I have clients still waiting for the right opportunity. Well, guess what? That's never going to show up. There is no right time to buy and sell. And then again, it goes back to motivation. I always go back. I can speak about the now, right? I can tell you what's going on, what's happening right now in the market. If we're going to sell your house, how much my house is worth? Well, if I do a market analysis of your house and do a micro and a macro level, and I'll tell you how much your house is worth in today's market based on the activity we're getting right now. How about in the future? Nobody knows what's going to happen. But again, it goes back to motivation. Why do you want to sell? Why do you want to buy? And is this going to be an investment property for you, or is it going to be a place for you to live? Because if you're looking for investment properties, there's different strategies that we can use to get you some good deals. And if you're looking for a place to live in, then we can have a different conversation, a different consultation, and get you that place that you're looking for. Same thing about selling. Why are you selling? What's the main motivation behind that? All goes back to the motivation. What I like about what happened right now in the market with COVID, I think all these wishy-washy buyers and sellers just got out of the market. And man, I don't like working with wishy-washy buyers or sellers. I like to work with motivated people, just like myself, that they know what they want. They want to buy for a reason. They want to sell for a reason, and not just want to look at pretty houses, right? So that, I think, it bought me a lot of time back working with all these motivated buyers and sellers in the market. I love it.
Yeah, and I think a big thing that I try to tell people when we go out to look at houses is we can go look at as many as we need to, but don't assume that if you go and see one house that you want to buy, that you shouldn't because you've only seen one house. There is an emotional aspect, and that's one of the beauties of what we do is that we get to not be emotional. We get to look at this strictly from a financial standpoint and provide fiduciary responsibility to our client. The client can be emotional, and then we can look and say, if you love this house, fine, because it's a bad deal, but if you want it, you want it, but like ultimately it's not as much about just loving, but the fact that you can go in, you say, man, this house has the layout I want, it's got the dual oven, it's got the garage I was looking for. I wish I had a better deck, but I could change that. Those types of things, because it's not going to check every single box. This is
Right.
impossible. Even if you
Mhm.
had an unlimited budget and you built all custom, I guarantee when it's all done, you go, I wish I would have done this. So it's always going to happen. Um,
Right.
and so I'm not trying to encourage you to buy the first house you see, but I don't want you to be discouraged because after we go see it, someone else is going to come see it. And if you're thinking you should go see five more houses and then come back to this one, it might not be available.
Right. And I think that's play a bigger role. Uh, I was looking at the numbers of houses I showed last week, Joe, and even though it was a Memorial, it was a 4th of July weekend. Last week I showed 32 houses. So I showed 32 houses in one week, and that's one thing I always tell my clients. Like, I do this for a living. I see a lot of houses every single day. And the reason when you work with me as a buyer that I'm not going to just show you every single house on the market, because after doing this for a while, I think I figured out what a buyer wants. That's the reason we go from 22 houses, we narrow it down to the maybe best 4 or 5 houses. And that's why I'm not going to take you. I think a lot of buyers have the myth of, I need to see a lot of houses before I make decision. I got to see what's out there. Well, it only takes me one house for me to take you out on one house to figure out what you're looking for. I'll take you to the first house, and then I get your feedback. Once I get the client feedback, I know exactly where they're looking at, and then I'll go show them the houses that fits their criteria, and that way they can see 3, 4 houses and they say, "Yep, this is the one we're making an offer on." versus like the shotgun approach. Well, I want a house in Novi at this price point. Well, there's 22 of them. Let's go see all 22. I think that works against the buyer because after seeing the 22nd house, they're like, I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
You start seeing it, the clients, they're like, oh, we hate this. Buying a house is so stressful. Versus the people that follow the guidance during our buyer consultation. I just had a client actually. She did a buyer consultation, and she knew exactly what she wanted, and she told me, and I said, I have a house for you. I go show her one house, Joe, one house. She was like, yep, that's the one. Do I need to see more houses? I said, it's up to you. We can go see them. But it seems like this is, she's like, I love it. I don't even want to see other houses. We put it under contract. We got her a bunch of seller credits. And her payment's gonna be way less what she is paying for in rent right now. She's like, oh my God, I never knew that buying a house could be so easy. Yes, when you follow a process, because we do this every single day.
Yeah. So that's a great thing. We talk about that a lot, like why rent when you can own, and then sometimes people's rent is really really affordable, right?
Yeah.
Um, but probably if you're paying above $800-900 a month for rent, there's probably a house out there for you, assuming you qualify, and things like that. And of course, if you don't, then we always have lots of contacts to try and help you out over time, so that you can qualify, sometime down the road. But with interest rates just where they're at, and I don't know their exact number today, but with interest rates where they're at, I mean, even if you're at 3.5 or 3.75%, I always say to somebody, would you loan me $100,000 and only get 3.5% interest year over year for the next 30 years? Or
Yeah.
would you loan me 250,000 and for the next 15 years only make 2.5%? There's no way in hell I would do that, right? So if you went to your stockbroker or your financial advisor and he said, "Good news, I'm going to make you 2.5% over the next 30 years," you would be like, "Dude, are you kidding me? When am I making 30%? Any 30% years? Any
Yeah.
10% years? I want to be doing 2.5." In down years, right? Not in up years. And so you got to look at it that way and understand there's a great opportunity out there right now if you're ready. Um,
I went, Joe. I went and applied for a loan myself. I got 2.99 for a 30-year mortgage. Okay. Now, not too long ago, I had the 4.7.
yeah,
And I they were like 4.7, and I thought 4.7 was good, was fine. I mean, geez, I remember when the interest rate was sixes and sevens.
yep,
Like, okay, that's not bad. 2.99 interest rate. Sign me up. I went and applied for a mortgage, and I told my brother to apply for a mortgage. I told my uncle to apply for a mortgage. Free money.
yeah,
And plus, me and you we shared an office. So I know you're very creative like I am. We can get the seller to give us some credits, 3% back at closing. I just got my client almost 10,000 back. There's so many programs out there that we can connect these clients to, and they can they can buy their house for. I had a client that brought to the table like 1,500 maybe to buy a really nice upgraded home, and she's like, oh, I just bought a home for 1,500 down.
yeah,
There's so much out there that people think maybe you need 20%. There's people still think the interest rate is 7.5. If I can get 2.99, I'm sure you can get way better deal than I do.
yeah. Um, my father-in-law bought his first house in maybe 82, 81, 83, somewhere in there. He believes if you're under like 13%, because his first interest rate was like 18, I mean, he bought,
Wow.
at just an amazing time of, inflation and all these other issues that occurred. And I think, oh, that's Kennedy behind you, right? In that book. Is that
Yeah.
okay? At first I thought it was Reagan, and I was going to say I think the guy behind you helped fix that, but no, I don't think so. Not in 1982. But so he like anything below that, and I feel the same way. My first interest rate was, I think it was 6.875 in 2004. I remember
Wow.
refinancing to either 6.25 or 6.125. I posted it one day on social media because I found a bunch of old stuff that I was like shredding. And I was like, what was your first interest rate? Tons of people, 7%, 9%, 13%. And so anybody who's complaining about interest rates or waiting for better rates, I think is really, really doing themselves a disservice.
Right. I agree with you.
So you're a reader and an Audible guy. Give me a couple of books that everybody, doesn't matter what you do for a living, how old you are, they should read or listen to.
Oof, that's a tough one. Uh, Obviously, the my favorite is Think and Grow Rich. I think everybody should start there. I like Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think that's a great book for finances. The other book I've been really fascinated and I haven't finished yet is Ray Dalio right here. I'm not sure if you read called Principles by Ray Dalio. It's a
Okay.
very thick book. But I like his process of thinking, how he solved problems, and he get rewarded handsomely for it. I mean, this is the guy who, when the government needs money, that's the guy who they call like, "Hey, man, can you loan us some money?" Uh, but I've been really fascinated with this book, and it's huge. I am a very slow reader. I like Audible. I can listen to things while I'm walking, but a book like this, I like to have it in hardcover copy and read. But it's amazing time we're living in that you get to I can drive. We do a lot of driving, and I can consume so many books, and content. Um, it's fascinating for me because I can go through so many books and get so many ideas. Like I just downloaded how this guy thinks in my head. Now I just saved myself 20 years of trial and error and just go model what he does and be successful.
Yeah, no, you're right. I got turned on to Audible a couple years ago, and between Audible and podcasts, I take in and consume a lot more than I ever have been able to, in the past. So they're really some great resources. Audible costs money, podcasts generally are free. So, there's a lot of tools out there. And what's awesome about both of those things, it doesn't matter what you're into. If you're into finances, great. If those are boring to you and you're into how the brain works, okay, that's available to you. You're interested in health and fitness, that's available to you. You're interested in dessert menus, that's available to you. Like, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you like and what you're interested in. It's all available. Most of it's for free. And you're right. We have a lot of issues in our world and in our country, but it's still probably the best time to be alive, as a human, and especially, in this country. There's plenty of problems. We could talk for days about them, but
Yes.
there's a lot of things that we can take in that we've never been able to take in. There's a lot of resources that we've never had available, and I think you're living proof, man. Your story. I know we only talked for like 10 minutes about it, and I know a lot
Yeah.
more of it. But your story is exact living proof that you could come to a country, not know the language, not know people, and have a fulfilling life, that is enjoyable and rewarding in many ways. So it's awesome to hear.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I know you know a lot about my story because we uh we've been on a lot of trips together. So
We have, and I'm glad that we're doing this one together. So for all of my people, don't worry about this guy when it comes to real estate. But for other people, maybe Fady, how could people reach you if they wanted to on the gram or wherever? I know you're very active with your social media, so feel free, plug it
yes.
away. Let's go.
Yeah, so you can research Fadi Farid on Fadi Farid one, FADYFAREED one on Instagram. I'm the most active there. And then if you want to see some great video, I'm working on documenting a lot of things that I'm doing. If you just go on YouTube, document Fadi Farid. And if you live in Novi, make sure you follow my show called Nothing But Novi on YouTube and Facebook. It's a great show.
I love Nothing But Novi, and I look forward to some new ones. I'm sure it's been on hold a little bit, as much of the
Yes.
world has, but I was seeing that before I knew. In fact, when I came over to Keller Williams, I said, I know that it's like a mini celebrity. And so
Yes.
it was just coincidence that our personalities meshed. And if probably the number one thing that I, honest to God, miss is sharing an office, with you, because I didn't come into the office every single day, but when I came in and you were there too, I knew we were going to be able to learn something from each other, laugh about something, and grow in some way. And we shared a hotel room during a crazy transaction, as well as a dog dying. And it was, you're a good person to be around, man, for bad times, right? Because it helps kind of lift you back up. So your personality is like second to none, and I'm not trying to blow smoke or nothing like that. I'm glad that I got to know you. I'm glad that we talk a lot more than just this, and really glad you did this video with us, man.
Thank you, Joe. And I really appreciate you having me on.
All right, so hey, let's do a little quick cheers to go. If you got a little White Claw left, I got just a
Oh,
little
man.
bit left in here. My friend, cheers anyways. Have a great day.
You too.
Make it a great day.
Make it a great day. That's right.